Hello, everybody, and welcome to HardAssetsInvestor.com. I'm Mike Norman, your host. Today, my guest is Miguel Perez-Santalla, who is the Vice President at BullionVault. Miguel,
hi.
Thanks for coming back on the show. Always good to see you.
Same here.
So let's get a little bit, I haven't spoken to you in a while. I'd like to get your feeling now on the overall precious metals markets. In kind of a stall, I would say.
Well, today especially, it's been very quiet after the election. The first reaction yesterday was a lot of volatility. And a lot of people thinking that the positive result for the Obama administration also means that the Fed is going to be able to continue the QE, so it drove the price higher. Then we had some people trading back out of the market. But the platinum group metals continue to suffer as a weak economy is still apparent, and the struggles that the industry is having down in South Africa and whatnot. But on the positive side, the storm that has hit the Northeast is actually going to increase the economy, because a lot of that insurance money is going to come into the economy, and there's going to be a lot of repairs and new cars that are going to have to be bought from that insurance, and that should stimulate the platinum group metals. But in terms of gold and silver, I still believe we're going to see long-term higher prices, and specifically because of quantitative easing.
But the quantitative easing, at least in the recent episodes of quantitative easing, you see the initial pop in gold and silver, but then they come back off and they ultimately end up below the level where we saw the quantitative easing. How is that story still in play when, you know, we've had, I mean, look, the Fed has taken its balance sheet, you know, from under $1 trillion to about $3 trillion. And, you know, a lot of that has been done in the last 2 years. But, you know, gold is kind of stagnant. I mean, we're not seeing, you know, this surge in prices that one would expect from all the quantitative easing.
Well, yes, that's partially because people are disinvesting from other markets and looking into stocks. There's also the opportunities of there are areas of growth and pockets of growth where things earn money, where gold does not earn money. But that still does not alleviate the fact that there is loss of value in both the U.S. dollar, the European currency, and the fear of worsening economic conditions from the currencies and the weakening of the currencies. So even though, you know, some people are very bullish seeing gold going to $5,000, I don't see that in the short term, but I could see a pop at $2,000 by the end of the year. Even if it doesn't, for the average investor, it's a smart thing to hold gold, because gold will always be gold. The value of the dollar goes up and down, but your 1 ounce of gold is still an ounce of gold.
Let's talk about the supply outlook, okay? Particularly, I'm interested in silver, where we see the price hovering in the low 30s, well above its average cost of production. When you look around, I think it could be anywhere from $7 up to $14 an ounce for silver. I mean, can we sustain that price level, given the fact that it seems to me the price will cause a lot of new material to come onto the market?
Well, the high price level of silver, I think, is sustainable to a point because of the consumption from the investment market, where that metal's being taken off from the industrial supply. So the industrial consumer has to continue purchasing that metal. And so we see a split or a dichotomy.
You just talked about the weak economy hurting the platinum group metals because of that connection, you know, as an economically sensitive metal. How do you argue the opposite in the case of silver?
No, but I was going to say, I think silver is sustainable more because of the investors, not because of the industry. Investors, it's the cheap man's gold. So they go into buying.
But is that the smart money? I mean,
you know, that's silver is the most volatile, as you and I have discussed in the past, and it's a dangerous metal to be involved in. In terms of me, for long-term investing, if I was going to say a percentage of my portfolio should be in a precious metal, I would choose gold, which is the most liquid of the two.
Now, what would happen if we do see, you know, and there are signs in the economy that things are actually getting better. We see housing market improvement. We see job market improvement. The last jobs report wasn't that bad, just under 200,000 new jobs. We're under an 8% unemployment rate. What happens if we do see a rebound in the economy and it benefits the stock market? How does that make the precious metal landscape look?
Well, Mike, from your lips to God's ears, I would love to see that. But that doesn't change the fact that people will want to maintain a portion of their investments in precious metals just as a hedge. I mean, a stock certificate could be worth nothing, as we've seen in the recent past. So people want to start to continue to develop some kind of commodity investment portfolio, and in something that is liquid. And gold is the most liquid commodity.
Now what's the most utilized instrument? Is it physical bullion? Do investors just want to own that physical gold or gold coins? Are they using ETFs? Are they buying gold stocks?
The interesting thing about that is that some people mistakenly buy gold mining stocks. When gold mining stocks...
They haven't performed very well, right?
They haven't performed very well, and that's not because gold hasn't performed well. It's because they're in the business of mining, not in the business of trading gold. And so you have to, when you invest in stocks, you have to be looking at the company just like any other company. But in terms of the metals, wait a second, gold is still the asset that will retain most of its value.
So people gravitate more. You're saying that people should or are gravitating more towards the physical bullion.
Yes, but as the time goes on, people are starting to realize that the high premiums and costs that they're paying to holding physically is not advantageous for them. And that's where, for instance, the company I work for now, called BullionVault's.com, supplies precious metals stored in secured locations at the lowest cost, where the people and the general public can actually buy at close to wholesale level.
So you get the advantage of having the exposure of having the physical gold, and a company like yours keeps the cost of holding that relatively low, reasonably
Yes,
priced.
our cost is actually lower than the ETFs. So the most popular at this time is ETFs, and that's also because of the network that brokers have. So they always sell what's the path of least resistance, which is the ETF. But for the individual and self-directed investor, they find places like Bullion Vault most often.
Let's talk a little bit about the policy outlook right now. I mean, we're facing the fiscal cliff. It's everywhere. You know, we hear it everywhere. I kind of get the feeling that some of that is being discounted into the markets right now. What do you think is going to happen if we do go over the fiscal cliff?
It's going to be a lot like the time where we got our rating knocked down. So we're going to see some major investment.
Well, we had like a one-day sell-off, and then everything went right back
Right,
up.
exactly.
Actually,
that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think the fiscal cliff is a threat, but it will be managed. And the confidence level in the United States still remains high. No matter what, and when you look at the global landscape, the United States still remains one of the most stable economies in the world. Europe right now is in a very serious, troublesome situation where Spain and Greece are on the brink of disaster. And that's why the euro and that economy is more of a threat to the U.S. economy than the U.S. economy itself.
So would you say that the potential for more social disorder in Europe is another reason for people to hold precious metals?
Yes, I would.
And we're seeing that now, once again, as you mentioned, it rising up again in Greece and in Spain when we went through a relatively calm period for the last several months.
And one of the beauties of our product is that people from all over the world can buy, because we're internet-based. And so they're able to hold metal outside in a safe location where they don't fear confiscation or anything of that matter.
Excellent. Miguel, always great to have you on the show.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it for now, folks. This is Mike Norman saying we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.